Wysteria, energy, twister. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Encyclopedia of Faeries. We are now on the Bodach, a term in Scotland for anything terrifying like a nighttime apparition. A Bodach may be a fairy or a human ghost, and while they appear and frighten people, they rarely do any real harm. The term is a general one. It does not apply only to fairies. It can be applied to nightly apparitions as well that, are not so nice. The Bodach. The name Bodach, like elf and goblin, is used for a specific fairy being or beings. It's also a generic term for a type of fairy. Bodachs are found in Scottish folklore, where they are usually seen as a type of frightening nighttime fairy that may lead people astray or attack people. In some localized folklore, the Bodach is an individual being, while in other lore it is a general type of being which can create some confusion. As with so many named fairies, we see that there is validity in the understanding of who and what Bodachs are. In Gaelic, the word Bodach has a variety of meanings, many of which apply to human men, including old man, unmarried man, a rustic, but it can also mean a spectre or a boogeyman. Campbell says that the name means O Carlo Old Man, but he also defines them as night spectres who are no living weight. From this, we can perhaps gain a mental image of a Bodach, based on the other meanings of the word, but we can also most certainly conclude that it is otherworldly being that appears at night and is frightening. Bodachs are only ever referred to as male in folklore, and the term for them is exclusively male as well. Campbell describes a variety among Bodachs and lists them as a type of the Bodach as well as a type of fairy being on their own. The Bodach in Scotland are any type of terrifying night being. This can include fairies and ghosts which frighten humans but don't necessarily cause any physical harm to them. In some areas, the term Bodach is used in the same general way that Bodach is elsewhere, to mean any and all terrifying nighttime spirits, while in others the Bodach is viewed as a distinct type of being. When included as one type, it is a more generalized grouping. The Bodach qualifies as one of the Bodach because of its nighttime appearances and habit of frightening people it encounters, although Bodachs may or may not cause physical harm. The Bodach was often used by parents to frighten children into behaving, to keep them away from dangerous areas. Some Bodachs are described as haunting areas that would be particularly unsafe after dark, trying to lure a person into going where they shouldn't. Bodachs often appear to children, trying to lure them into the darkness or to scare them, sometimes harming them directly, sometimes only frightening them. In some stories, the Bodach would rush down the chimney and seize children who were misbehaving, taking them away. They were also drawn to children who were being loud or crying after dark, as well as those who disobeyed their parents. There is also a tradition of the named Bodachs, who have a distinct personality, locality and activity associated with them. One type of Bodach on Schmidi, beckoning old man, would be seen standing near the corner of a house and beckoning with his hands for the viewer to follow him. Another name, Bodach, Mglumig ma na mes, Oliath, Tarang, Shayoda, Borach Mo, son of Platypule from Grey Spike, Silken Spike, Great Caterpillar. That's what that is. Sometimes just called son of Platypule. Appears to children at windows, gnashing his teeth loudly and flattening his face against the glass. If the child cries out, the Bodach takes them away. Another name Bodach is the Bodach class. dark man, who appeared as a death omen for a certain Scottish clan. It would appear 3 times, and on the 3rd time signalled doom. In that case, the Bodach seems to play a role similar to the B&C in Irish folklore, being connected to a specific family and acting to foretell death within the family line. There is also at least one named Bodach with a friendly nature, normally described as a type of brownie, the Bodachan Sabalhi, or Bodachan Sabhail, little old man of the barn, was an helpful fairy who would come at night and thresh the crops in darkness for tired old farmers. While they can look and act frightening, Bodachs can only enter a home if they are called or invited in. They also rarely attack a person unless the person first puts themselves in the Bodach's power, be it by choosing to follow the fairy, by acknowledging its presence at the window, or by breaking cultural rules around behaviour. They are known to take children, but otherwise their reputation is ambivalent and focuses more on frightening than harming. In some modern Scottish anecdotal fairy lore, Bodach is the consort or partner of the Cailleach, and in a wider sense, modern law places this fairy in the unseelie court. Bodach's a fascinating type of Scottish fairy, running the gamut in folklore from helpful to harmful. Consider in some cases brownies are most often seen as boucans. The little old fairy men appear in the night to frighten children into good behaviour, inhabiting the same darkness as ghosts and apparitions. And the safest way to avoid them is to refuse to acknowledge them. In many ways, the folklore around the Bodach seems to blend together more common fairy lore with other influences, and certainly we see the classic form of the boogeyman looming large over naughty children in the Bodach's stories. Kinda does sound like a boogeyman, doesn't it? It's used to scare children, make them behave themselves, etc. Definitely sounds very similar indeed. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fae Folk. Please hit that like, share if you can, and consider subscribing. Many blessings.
Wysteria, energy, twister.